Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Friday, August the 16th. We do have a full 15-game slate for this Friday night. We're going to start off with DraftKings. We'll look at some Yahoo plays as well. Talk about pitching. I'll be sure to hit on all the pitchers that I like for this full 15-game slate. Then we'll look at batters I like, 3 specific hitters. We'll talk about some stacks that I like, and then towards the end of the video, we will look at some BVP plays for those of you that are interested in BVP. I do want to let you guys know I did make 2 NFL videos yesterday going over the pricing, the Week 1 pricing for DraftKings and for Yahoo. I did make 2 separate videos, so kind of gave my early thoughts on the NFL slate, talked about the pricing, not necessarily giving out picks because it's kind of too early to do that, but talked about the salaries, guys that stood out as maybe too cheap, maybe some guys that felt like they were a bit overpriced. Just if you're planning to play the Week 1 slate, which I'm sure most of you are, I would definitely appreciate it if you would check those videos out. Before we do get started with this video, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so that way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. But at the top, Justin Verlander is our most expensive pitcher today. He is $12,400 on DraftKings, and on Yahoo, Verlander is also the most expensive pitcher at $60. So Verlander's not my number 1 guy today. I think he's in play here against Oakland, but I do prefer Charlie Morton for $800 less. Charlie Morton is in a great spot pitching at home against the Tigers. It's just a better matchup for Morton than it is for Verlander. And Morton has been really good this year. He's been able to rack up strikeouts. Just in his last 4 starts, he does have 9, 10, and 11 Ks in 3 of his 4 starts. Had to face Boston in Boston, only got 2 Ks in that matchup, but that's kind of, you expect that because it's such a tough spot against Boston. I would expect probably double-digit Ks or close to it from Morton here. Should pitch pretty deep into the game. When he did face Detroit earlier this year, he was really good, went 7 innings, allowed 5 hits, no runs, got 8 strikeouts, had 32 DraftKings points. I think we can expect a similar performance out of Morton today, so I like him a lot on Yahoo as well. He's $6 cheaper than Verlander, and I think that's enough savings for me to go to Morton over Verlander. Pretty low total for the Tigers like you would expect. Just a 2.9 implied run total, which is the lowest on the slate. Morton's a heavy favorite, should be able to get a win, should have some run support, should be able to rack up strikeouts as well in this matchup. So I do like Charlie Morton a lot as my SP1 to spend up for. There are a lot of guys to pay up for. You do have, looks like on DraftKings, you have like 5 other guys that are over 10K. You got Lucas Giolito against the Angels, Luis Castillo against the Cardinals, Patrick Corbin against the Brewers, Syndergaard against the Royals, Mike Minor against the Twins. Just looking at these other guys, there's not much appeal for any of them besides maybe someone like Noah Syndergaard against the Royals. Syndergaard, not the greatest like strikeout pitcher, not elite in terms of like what you would get from like Morton and Verlander. But Syndergaard can still get strikeouts, especially in a good matchup. This is a pretty decent matchup for Ks. You do have some Ks in this Royals lineup, especially when it gets past like Soler. There's a lot of easy outs, and there are some strikeouts towards the bottom of the lineup. So if you want to consider Syndergaard, he's definitely in play for me. Going to be a guy I have in my player pool. I don't think he's going to be a core play because if I'm spending up, I think I just want to go all the way up to Charlie Morton. But I do like Syndergaard if you need the savings. $1,500 in savings is pretty nice. On Yahoo, you get $8 in savings going down from Morton to Syndergaard. But now talking about SP2s, just looking at this mid-range is pretty dead today. Like, there's nobody I really like in this mid-tier. My favorite play would definitely be John Gray, 8K. Even though he's pitching in cores, it's a really good matchup for John Gray facing the Marlins. John Gray is actually someone that I like a lot on Yahoo because if you look over here, he's at $36. He's priced $1 less than Musgrove. He's only $1 more than Porcello and Tanaka. John Gray is actually going to be someone I play a lot on Yahoo at $36. Very favorable matchup with the Marlins, even though it's in Coors Field. I'm not really worried about that. This Marlins lineup is just so bad. Offensively, there are a lot of strikeouts in this Marlins lineup. I believe John Gray has faced the Marlins once this year, maybe twice. Faced them at the very beginning of the year in Miami and had a good start. 6 2/3, allowed 5 hits, 3 runs, but got 10 strikeouts, 27 fantasy points. The strikeout should be there in this matchup. Obviously, the Marlins are going to have a decent total because they're playing in Coors Field, but I like Gray here. I think I side with Gray. Don't really see myself going to the Marlins. Just not that good of an offense. Even though it's in Coors Field, I think they probably still struggle to put up runs. So I like Gray a lot as an SP2 on Yahoo, but on DK, it's pretty hard to play Gray and Morton together because if you do that, you're only left with 3,800 remaining per player. So I'm going to go down a little bit in salary, go down to the 7K range. Rick Porcello is not a guy I usually like to play, but at home against the Orioles, I think he is an option today as a cheap SP2. He's a very heavy favorite, which is something I like. Anytime I'm targeting a cheap pitcher, it's a bonus if they're a heavy favorite, so that way you know it's likely they get a win. It's very likely that Porcello gets a win here if he's able to go 5 innings. Right now, the Red Sox have the highest total on the slate at 7.5 implied runs, minus 247 favorite. Orioles total's not that high, just 4.6 right now as I'm recording this video. Porcello's not a guy that gets strikeouts. He's not a guy that usually pitches too deep into games. But if we can get 5-6 innings out of him, maybe he gives up a couple runs, but if he's able to get maybe like 3 or 4 strikeouts and pick up the win, you could get 20 DraftKings points out of Porcello, and I feel like that's going to be good enough at 7K. Because if you just look at some of the other cheap pitchers you could possibly consider, Wagyu Spack at home against the Mariners could be an option for 100 less. If you wanted to go cheap, obviously if you can get up to Gray, you could go to him at 8K. You have a guy like Sandoval against the White Sox at 7,800 who's a potential play. Maybe Vince Velasquez at home against the Padres, a Padres team that does strike out a lot versus righties. Velasquez could be an option at 7,200. But the punt plays are pretty thin, just in terms of like really cheap options to consider. Maybe like a guy like Mike Leake. I hate rostering Mike Leake. I don't think I've rostered him once this year. He's usually a guy I like to stack against, but he's facing the Giants, and we know how bad the Giants' offense is. At 6K, I don't think he's the worst value pitcher. But then you have like Savale against the Yankees, Alcantara in Coors, Mike Montgomery's just not a good pitcher. Aaron Brooks against the Red Sox is a no thanks. And then you have like an opener. So there's not much value at pitcher under 7K besides maybe Mike Leake. So Porcello is someone I do like. I think he can give you 15 to 20 DraftKings points, and if he does that, I feel like on this slate that's probably going to be good enough because I feel like we do want to pay up for either one of Verlander, Morton, or Syndergaard because I think all three of those guys give you a lot of upside in their matchups. But now let's go ahead and talk about some bats since we pretty much covered all the pitching that I like for today. So there's a clear standout team for me on this slate. It's the Red Sox, 7.5 implied run total versus Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks is just a terrible pitcher. His last start against the Astros, he got absolutely crushed. I don't believe I played that slate because I don't think I was able to, but he gave up 9 runs through 3 innings, gave up 4 home runs, negative 10 DraftKings points. Honestly, wasn't surprised when I saw this line out of Aaron Brooks because he's just not that good of a pitcher. He will give up home runs. He really struggles like in terms of strikeouts. He really doesn't get strikeouts. This Red Sox lineup in general doesn't strike out. Plus, it's in Fenway Park, which is a pretty favorable hitter's park. Just a really tough spot for Aaron Brooks. I'm going to try my hardest to get in as many Red Sox bats as I can. Mookie Betts is one of my top plays today. I like him a lot on DraftKings and on Yahoo. He's very expensive, but I think he's worth the price tag today given the matchup. Brooks just gives up a lot of home runs to both sides of the plate. Really not much needs to be said here. Mookie Betts is facing a terrible pitcher, and the Red Sox have the highest total on the slate, so really like Mookie. Think there's a good chance he hits a home run today. Him and JD probably go deep. You probably get a home run maybe out of Devers or Bogarts. Like this whole Red Sox lineup is in play for me. Even the guys at the bottom of the lineup, I'll be going to as full stacks. You need value, and you do get some value with potentially Marco Hernandez and Jackie Bradley Jr. They're both 3,800 on DraftKings. Could be in play as value options. I do like Bradley as a value at 3,800. He's going to be batting ninth most likely, so he usually never gets ownership, but if the Red Sox are going to be a team you go heavy on, which I'm going to be doing today, and if you think they're going to put up a ton of runs, which I think they have the potential to, there's a good chance the guys at the bottom of the lineup are going to produce as well and going to get probably 4 or 5 plate appearances. And Jackie Bradley Jr. is a decent hitter. He has some power. Aaron Brooks is a terrible pitcher. He'll give up home runs to everybody, so I like JBJ a lot. Anytime the Red Sox go for like 10, 15 runs. We've seen them do it plenty of times this year. Usually guys at the bottom of the lineup have big games as well. Like I know there was a game earlier this year where the Red Sox scored like 13 runs and you had like double dong or triple dong from Jackie Bradley Jr. Obviously that's unlikely to happen, but in a chance that Brooks gets crushed and gives up a lot of home runs, there's a chance that Jackie Bradley Jr. hits one down there at the bottom of the lineup. So as a value on DraftKings, I think he's a pretty good play at 3,800. On Yahoo, you don't really need to go to him because I believe he's like $15 or $16, which is kind of expensive. I think on Yahoo, you probably just want to try and fit in as many studs as possible, and then you're probably going to have to pay down at pitcher, pay down for both of your pitchers if you want to get a full Red Sox stack in. But I think just given the potential they have here, it's probably worth doing so. But a play I like on Yahoo, I think he's a pretty good play on DraftKings as well. Going to another team, I think the Rockies, are in a really good spot here versus Sandy Alcantara. Alcantara facing the Rockies in Coors Field, just a tough spot. 7.4 implied run total for the Rockies, which is just behind the Red Sox for highest on the slate. There's a couple standout plays on DraftKings. Murphy at 4,100. Daniel Murphy feels like a really good play. I like him a lot on Yahoo as well at just $13. So Murphy, a pretty talented hitter, makes contact, doesn't strike out much, has a little bit of power, and the Rockies are just in a great spot here, facing a pretty mediocre pitcher in a great hitter's park. Alcantara, he's had some decent starts this year, especially at home when he's been in Marlins Park, but now he has to go to Coors Field. Just a really tough spot for him. So I'm going to be on the Rockies as well if I can fit them in, and I do like Daniel Murphy a lot at just $13 on Yahoo. To go ahead and fill out my Yahoo 5, I'm going to include a guy that I was pretty heavy on Thursday. His price is still way too cheap. It's a catcher, Gary Sanchez. Only $10 on Yahoo. He was $9 on Thursday, which is way too cheap. He's $10 on Friday, which is still way too cheap. So I like Sanchez a lot as a value. The Yankees are definitely a team you could look to stack today versus Aaron Savale. Savale's had some good starts this year, but he's also had some pretty favorable matchups. Now he has to face the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. This is definitely a spot where Savale could struggle. Gary Sanchez on Yahoo, where he's only $10. I like him a lot. Whether you're stacking the Yankees or you just want to play him as a one-off, Gary Sanchez feels like one of the top catcher options, again, on Yahoo. But now going back over to DraftKings to fill out my 5 plays. Right now, with the 4 guys we have in there, we're only left with an average of 37, 33 remaining per player. So I do want to give you guys a pretty cheap hitter, and a team I do like for value is the Rays versus Daniel Norris. Daniel Norris is just not a good pitcher. He really struggles to right-handed hitters. So Tommy Pham, really like today if you can find a way to get him in. But when you get to like the 5 through 9 from the Rays, I know these guys are not great hitters, but they're so cheap on DraftKings. Matt Duffy is only $3,300, and I like him a lot as a third base option. If you're just looking for a one-off at third base, or if you're stacking the Rays, he feels like a pretty good value. Right now, Fantasy Labs does have him batting 5th, but we've seen at times this year versus a lefty, they have put Matt Duffy in the leadoff spot. Maybe they do that today, and that just makes him a better value. But I do like him here versus Norris. Norris just really struggles with righties. He will give up home runs to righties. Duffy doesn't have much power, and this is not a great ballpark for hitters, not a great ballpark for power. But still, I like Duffy a lot. So cheap. Rays are in a good spot. They have a pretty high total. Even though it's a bad hitter's park, still a 5.2 implied run total for the Rays. So they're definitely a team I'm going to be looking to as a potential value stack. Like if I'm trying to go with Charlie Morton and some Red Sox bats, I'm going to need some value hitters, and I think that's where the Rays are going to come in handy. But these are my 5 plays for DraftKings and for Yahoo today, guys. Now let's look at some stacks I like, and then we'll talk about some BVP before we end the video. So I have 2 clear standout stacks for me today. The Red Sox with their 7.5 implied run total versus Aaron Brooks, and the Rockies with their 7.4 implied run total against Sandy Alcantara. Obviously, those are going to be 2 stacks we want to go to. But some other teams I like, I think the Rays with their 5.2 implied run total versus Daniel Norris give you a lot of value. I think the Rays as a cheap stack make a ton of sense. Another cheap stack you could look to is the Reds versus Adam Wainwright. Wainwright having to go up against the Reds in Great American Ballpark, a great hitter's park. Some Reds hitters do make some sense in my eyes. Maybe some other teams like the Blue Jays give you some value. 5.5 implied run total. Looks like Wade LeBlanc's going to be the long man, so some of these righties make a lot of sense. Vlad Guerrero's only $3,900. Grichuk $4,100. Teoscar $4K. You do have some value in the Blue Jays lineup. And then the Yankees as well. But the Yankees are going to be more of a secondary team. If I'm paying up for a team, I'm going to go to the Red Sox and to the Rockies. But I think that's it for stacks today, guys. Let's go ahead and look at some BVP real quick before we end the video. So a couple of BVP plays that catch my eye. Chris Davis, 13 for 55, 4 home runs off Rick Porcello. Joey Votto, 17 for 51, 3 home runs off Adam Wainwright. Matt Carpenter, 6 for 15, 2 home runs off Luis Castillo. Rougned Odor, 3 for 10, 2 home runs off Jake Odorizzi. Jake Lamb, 7 for 18 with 2 home runs off Jeff Samardzija. And then lastly, Brandon Crawford's gone 9 for 26 with 2 home runs off of Mike Leake. Also, Chris Davis hasn't had a lot of success in terms of batting average versus Verlander, 6 for 16, but 4 of those 6 hits were home runs, so has shown some power against Verlander. But that's it for my 5 plays for today, guys, and I think that is it for this video. Hopefully you did enjoy this video, and hopefully it did help you. Like I said at the beginning, if you're planning to play the Week 1 NFL slate on DraftKings or Yahoo, which I'm sure pretty much all of you are, I did go over the pricing, talked about some of the salaries at each position. If you want to check those videos out, I would really appreciate it. I hope you did enjoy this video. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you are new. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, or like always, you can hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT if you do have any questions. But good luck tonight, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.